Hi, Sandi Maki here with a little bit of heavy breathing just before midnight. I read a note from the universe the other day that makes a lot of sense. If you haven't subscribed yet, I would recommend that you do. Notes from the universe at tut.com is the website to go to. The note from Friday, January 13th, shared that the higher your perspective, the cooler your life. Stretch, stretch, and stretch to see every perspective, and nothing shall keep you from joy. This was quite appropriately timed, which, when you follow the notes from the universe, you'll find happens quite frequently. Because, I don't know why, but for some reason, several months ago, I had said that I'd like to go to the black tie event at the International Auto Show in 2012. And I wasn't sure exactly how this happened or who you needed to know to get in or how it all worked. But I thought that it would be a cool thing to go to. Being that I'm based out of Brighton, Michigan, which is near the Motor City Automotive Central, or it has been in previous years. And that's where the auto show is. You know, I do a lot of traveling to really cool places and meet interesting people, and I thought this is something a little bit closer to home that I just need to be a part of. So I decided that this was probably a cool thing to do, and I put it on my list of things that I'd like to see happen. Well, I didn't really bookmark it, and I wasn't looking it up to see what the dates were. And this past week I started seeing posts on Facebook, pictures of cars from at the auto show. And I thought, well, I must have missed it, because I would assume that the preview black tie event would come before the auto show, and it seemed like it was already happening. Well, as it turns out, on Friday, on Facebook, my portal to the universe, I saw a note saying that it was Friday night, the opening charity preview. So I hadn't missed it after all. But here it is Friday. How do we get there? Well, I did a little bit of checking, and it turns out that I am connected and was able to get a couple of tickets to go. The cool thing about going to something that you've never been to before is that you get the opportunity to observe and create out of an experience a new set of parameters that you can put into your mailboxes. And this was one of the big things for me. I wanted to go to an event like this in the Metro Detroit area. It's one that's a little bit widely recognized, you know, the International Auto Show. Most people have heard of it. And it would definitely be a place for me to see and achieve some new perspectives. I can tell you how into cars I am, and this, you know, sorry for anyone who's a car enthusiast. If I can put my key in, and maybe someday it won't even be a key, but I can turn it on and it goes. That's the extent of what I need to know about my car. Will it work, and will it get me where I need to go? So, of course, going to the auto show is probably a really great place for people who are really automotive enthusiasts. And yet I was still able to go and gain some new perspectives and see some shiny things and see motors that were outside of cars, which, if they always looked shiny like that, I would have no problem appreciating it. It's when things get a little greasy and mucky that I'm not quite so interested. I did meet my future car there. And the selling point of that was it was probably the only magenta or fuchsia car in the whole place. So that's now on my list. And the other thing that happened is I got to walk around and just do a lot of people watching. It was black tie, meaning everybody there was looking at cars and they were dressed to the nines. And I was thinking, and I probably even commented, what a difference it would be to come through the auto show with everybody in their everyday attire, with jeans and sweatshirts and, you know, a whole array of appearances. And what a difference in perspective it is when everyone there is dressed up. When everyone's dressed to the nines, walking around in evening gowns, jewels, dolled up. It was just a really, really cool experience and a new perspective for me to be able to put together. couple of lessons that come from that are, number one, if you put something on your list and you really mean or intend for it to happen, it probably will. And number two, keep stretching. Because before I had ever been to the auto show, let alone been to the auto show's charity preview event in full formal wear, I wouldn't have known what that looked like. And now I do. So I've gained that new perspective. Perspectives also come from traveling. And I know a friend of mine who says, I've been there, done that. I'm done traveling. I have no need to see anywhere else. And I was just in a real estate continuing education class at the end of the year, where the instructor said after his last trip out of the country, he threw away his passport because he's older, and he said, I'm not ever leaving again. I can get anywhere that I want to within the U.S. I can experience different climates, different places, and different things, which is totally cool. My perspective on traveling is that I've always had a desire to see new places. And the more new places that I see, the more I realize everywhere is just like it is at home. Before I went to New York City, I had this big picture in my mind of what New York City looked like and what it would feel like and how glamorous it was. And when I was standing on the streets in New York City and I was taking the subway and it was cold outside and I wasn't seeing glamorous people everywhere I looked, I realized just how different the picture in my head was from the reality. So where does that picture come from? Where does that set of expectation come from that we create? Well, we'd obviously get it from stories, from books, from movies, from the media, and from the news. And there's nothing that can replace a first-hand account, seeing it with your own eyes, feeling it with your entire being present there, and experiencing it for yourself. So my philosophy on travel is still that I would like to do a whole lot more. Because every new country that I visit, every new place that I'm able to go to, every new city, even within the United States that I haven't been to before, helps to create a new picture, a new set of awareness, and a series of new perspectives that help to fill in some of the blanks that are probably there. I've always had on my trip going to Ireland, and as many of you know, this summer I was able to make that happen. I took a bus tour through Ireland, and being someone who doesn't necessarily travel well, not only was the flight over going to be interesting, but also being on a bus for a week, I wasn't too excited about that. But I knew that the opportunity to go to Ireland with a friend was an opportunity not to be passed up. Well, the trip exceeded any expectations that I could have. And those places that I'd only seen in movies, I was physically standing at. I was there. I was creating my own set of experiences that I can call on. And every now and then, now, my mind will wander back to that time. And I'll transport myself back in my mind to the place that I was standing and the things that I was seeing and the things that I was feeling as I was at some of the most phenomenal sights that I've ever seen. I was at the Cliffs of Moher. I was at the Giant's Causeway. I was walking around Dublin. And I was having all these amazing experiences that I get to relive in my memory anytime that I'd like. I've also done a lot of thinking about the bus driver. The bus driver, which we were not to refer to as a bus driver, his name was John, and he preferred to be called our dear friend John. And he really, really was. Imagine touring Ireland with a bus driver, guiding the tour, while we're going over the hills and around the curves, some of them where you couldn't even imagine a bus could turn, let alone make it without crashing into something. And we'd be going through the Irish countryside, and he would be saying, "Let me tell you a little story." And then he would fill in some of the blanks about the history and things that have happened. And he shared a little bit of himself with us as well. Now, I've not ever been a bus driver giving guided tours around a country. And I know that we don't have tours like that so much here in the States. It's truly a unique experience. I know that we had John for a week, and he got to know us, the people on the bus, for a week. And yet John travels now throughout the rest of my life with me because he was part of helping to shape my perspective during that time that I was in Ireland. So I don't know if my presence in his life was profound or not. You'd have to ask him. But I know that his presence in my life is so profound and so significant because every time I think of Ireland and I think of that trip, I think of John. I also think of all the fellow people on the bus. And while we did have some interaction, they're part of each and every one of those memories that I still call forward. I guess this brings up a lot of points about perspective. Because whatever you're doing, or being, or sharing, or seeing, or experiencing in this moment is here in the now for this moment. It also is going to travel through your future with you every time you think about it. And the people, the sights, the things that you're seeing, hearing, and experiencing, those will all be coming with you. And as we all keep trying to figure out what this life is all about, how can we be living to our greatest purpose? How can we be finding the most amount of happiness? How can we be helping the most? I think it's important to remember that we don't always see the significance in the moments. And just because something doesn't rank high on your perspective meter doesn't mean that it's not shooting the limits off of somebody else's. So thank you. Thank you to my dear friend John, who I think about all the time. And thank you to the people on the bus through the experience in Ireland. And thank you to the people that are surrounding me in my life each and every day, creating some of this new perspective. Whether your goal is to travel more, spend more time with family, spend more time with friends, go on a personal development journey, or learn new things, I would say keep going. I was having a conversation with Al the other day about the Insights group, and exactly what kind of a business is it and what does it mean. And I said one of the most important things for me in having the Insights group is it's the thing that makes all of this exploring of perspectives okay and legitimate. And it's only in my own mind that this is important, I know that. But if I was working for a pool company, for example, and was taking classes on face reading and personality studies and core conscious transformation, then people or I might look at that and say, well, how does this relate? What does it have in common? But insights, when I'm looking at things and gaining new perspectives, and it's within the framework of insights, it makes so much sense. So that question, what is a business? And a business being a point of consciousness or a way that people think about it. Insights in the word and insights in the business really serve a whole lot of purposes for me. They're self-serving for me. And I know that they've served a lot of other people. You know, the term insights, to gain a new perspective on something. That's really the mantra of my life. Because I can do more good and I can be of more benefit to more people and myself. And I can have amazing experiences in each moment of now that comes along when I'm able to continue acquiring new perspectives every time I open my eyes. I think that's part of the secret to happiness. Because if you decide one day that I'm done, this is all, I don't need new perspectives, I don't need new stories, I'm not looking for anything new to be assimilated into my realm of what I know, then what is there? I know for me anyway, striving to see those new perspectives, learning from people at every turn, and in general following things that just make me smile and make me inquisitive about the world. That's really what lights me up. So I think the universe had it right when they sent the note that the higher my perspective, the cooler my life. And that as I stretch to see every perspective, I'll find joy around every corner. So take a look at what your perspective is. What's in your life? What's surrounding you? And what are some of those things that would light you up and make you feel those moments of bliss, not only as they're happening, but as you're able to look forward to them and look back on them at every moment of your journey. Until next time, add some more fabulous perspectives to your day-to-day life, and then add some of those monumental pieces. Because however high you're dreaming, however big you're dreaming, whatever you're thinking about, you're not dreaming nearly big enough.